Gracias, Senor Das. This annual regional conference provides a unique opportunity for our entire Americas community to come together. Educators, administrators, thought leaders, supporters, members of our IB Educator Network, IB staff, IB students, alumni like myself, and other individuals who recognize the value of an IB education. Thank you all for making the journey to Riviera Maya. Just out of curiosity, how many IB alums are in the room? Stand up, please. So we can add our ranks to the 4 amazing speakers who joined us just a moment ago. I thought you might be interested to know that you're joined here by 900 members of the IB community and members of the IB staff from almost 30 countries, not the staff, the participants, everyone. From as far away as New Zealand. Who's from New Zealand? I'm doing this at a risk. Ah, okay. Lance is from New Zealand. It's just really incredible. Over the last, I guess this is my 5th conference presiding as, I guess, MC. It's really exciting to be here in Latin America, and more exciting that the IB Americas community really showed up to our conference this year in greater numbers than we could have ever, predicted, and we're just excited that we're surrounded by as much, I guess, IB love as we are. So thank you for making the trip here today. And I guess I should say thanks to Pepe for years and years asking me to have a conference in Mexico. So we're here, so thank you, Pepe. I'm also excited about the fact that among you are 300 native speakers of Spanish, okay? That is pretty exciting. You represent over 40% of the participants at this conference. This is truly an international conference of the Americas, and we're excited about the next 3.5 days. The students who greeted you as you entered tonight were clearly leaps and bounds at, how old are I think 10, were more comfortable with their trilingual skills, or quadrilingual skills, if you include Mayan, than I am. They spoke to you in all 3 of the IB's languages and Mayan. These lingually talented students, as you've heard, attend Colegio Británico, a school nearby that is a candidate to offer both the PYP and the diploma program. Please join me in thanking them and their teachers for their warm welcome. Stand up. I also, of course, want to thank the many sponsors and exhibitors who are supporting this year's gathering of the IB community in Mexico. The generosity of these organizations allow us to ensure that we are able to deliver a conference that is of the highest quality each year, and this year I'm confident will be no exception. Throughout the conference, you'll hear from a number of students, and not too much more of me, hopefully, from this very podium and various breakout sessions. You can also see some of the artwork of IB students. Throughout the conference, student artwork will be on display in the Expo Center just outside the doors, and these impressive works of art have been donated by IB schools in addition to Colegio Británico throughout Mexico. During the 4 days together, our 4 days together, I urge you to spend some time with the artwork. I was particularly impressed by the large Magritte that was made out of recycled material. Pretty impressive stuff for high school age and younger students. Those of you with smartphones, because I'm a technology guy, you're going to hear a little bit about technology through this. Those of you with smartphones can also take a virtual look at additional creative work from IB schools and students in Mexico and in Texas. And I think there's a QR code. So if anybody has a phone, you can actually snap a shot of that right now and you'll load a YouTube video. Come on, get your phones out. Does anyone know what a QR code is? They tell me it's something cool. No, actually, I know what it is. Look for the QR codes, again, out in the hall as well, like the one you see on the screen, on the posters just outside the room. Once you scan the tag, it will direct you to creative projects such as the video that you see on the screen here, and obviously YouTube, it's hard to see in screenshots, but if anybody can guess what that is, basically a math teacher and his students in the US created a really fun song. It's a catchy title, so look for the QR code later, about how to graph lines in the formula y equals mx plus b. So it's Village People style, y equals mx plus b, if you can make that out in the pictures. So the student artwork on display here from IB schools in Mexico is just one way that schools from our host country have contributed to the planning of the conference. I'd like to take a moment to thank the 92 schools in Mexico and our host, the IB Association, Amexico OBI. The association's local arrangements committee has worked with the IB Americas team over the last year in order to ensure the success and planning of this year's conference. This year, we celebrate and explore the culture of learning that weaves its way through many aspects of an IB education. Over the next 4 days, you will have the opportunity to participate in 4 plenary sessions and 96 breakout sessions. And of these sessions, which is really exciting, 22 of them will be offered purely in Spanish, and an additional 12 of them will be will be bilingual, okay? As I mentioned earlier, Amexico OBI played a vital role in this year's conference planning. Amexico OBI and the other associations of IB schools across the Americas and around the world provide an indispensable support network for the IB community. Associations are active in their districts, their states, provinces, and at national levels, raising awareness of the benefits of an IB education. They support IB recognition efforts from governments and universities, and when new schools expressed an interest in pursuing authorization to offer the IB associations are at the ready to offer a wealth of experience and support. The picture behind me was taken earlier this year at the annual Americas meeting of associations. Since that meeting, new associations have joined our ranks. As of today, there are close to 50 associations of IB World schools around the globe, and the latest edition is right here in the Americas. Please join me in welcoming the Venezuelan Association as the 38th Association of the Americas. And I think we have one person from New Zealand, Lance, and we also have one person from Venezuela. Are you there? Are you there? Bueller? Welcome. Thank you. Now, I'd like to take a few minutes to share some exciting developments that have occurred in our region this past year, and to let you know about some new initiatives as well. Under the Global IB's current strategic plan that you see up on the screen, there are 4 main goals. One of the 4 legs supporting this vision is our strategic goal to develop a more diverse, inclusive IB community by enabling access to an IB education regardless of personal circumstances. This means establishing programs in new areas and expanding the reach of current IB programs to more students. In the last year, we've made impressive strides in broadening access right here in the Americas. In fact, right here in Mexico, in Michoacan, there is an IB candidate school that has begun to improve educational opportunities for its students. With funding from the ArcelorMittal Foundation, which supports the social and economic development of the communities where the company operates, the school has acquired a library and is preparing to offer the diploma program to its rural population. Another indicator of the IB's commitment to expanding access is the presence of IB programs in Title I schools in the United States. For those of you unfamiliar with Title I, this designation refers to schools with at least 40% of students from low-income families. Low income is measured by the percent of students receiving free and reduced price meals. In other words, those are families whose income are so low that they struggle to put food on the table. Recently, the IB's Global Research Department used NCES, or National Center for Education Statistics, and Common Core data to identify schools that were both Title I and IB, and what we found was that more than half of IB public schools in the United States are designated Title I. Today, we are providing access across the Americas, in the US, and I'll talk to you a little bit about Latin America in a moment. Statistics like this in the United States defy the elite stereotype marked by the early years of the IB's history. I'm proud to say that through the support that we provide to these Title I schools, as well as other public schools across the region, we're enabling access to an IB education right now. Historically, in Latin America, IB programs have been concentrated in private schools. This paradigm is changing rapidly in places like Costa Rica, the city of Buenos Aires, and Ecuador. And as an example, with the enthusiastic backing of the Ecuadorian government, we're pleased to announce that thousands of the country's public school students will soon have access to an IB education. There are now more than 20 authorized state schools in Ecuador, and an additional 62 schools have recently entered the authorization process. The government expects to add several hundred, yes, several hundred diploma programs in the coming years. Many of the schools in Ecuador are situated in rural communities where students have had limited access to quality education and will now, for the first time, be able to connect to the world in ways previous generations never dreamed of. More and more often across the Americas and in other parts of the world, local school officials, regional school districts, and even national education ministries are recognizing that their students and their country's economies' future depend on an educated, globally minded workforce, and they're turning to the IB to help them achieve this goal. This is pretty exciting. Remember, we're only 44 years old. In the United States, publicly funded schools constitute a large part of the IB community, as you know. Earlier this year, we celebrated one of these schools when the IB authorized Beta, the South Texas Business, Education, and Technology Academy, located in Edinburgh, Texas, as the 2000th authorized school in the Americas. Pretty exciting milestones. That was recently, and I think we're already up to 2032. We're delighted to welcome Beta and all of the new schools that were authorized since last year's conference into the passionate community of IB schools. If you would, can you please stand up if you are from one of those schools that we've authorized since last July? Don't all stand up at once. Welcome to the IB community. We're expecting good things from you. All of the initiatives that I've mentioned so far illustrate the IB's progress in increasing the diversity of the students and the inclusiveness of the schools that we serve. But perhaps no urban school district reflects this better than the Chicago, Illinois public school system in the United States. Nearly 90% of CPS, or Chicago public school students, are from low-income families. 12 IB diploma programs were implemented by CPS in the 1990s, so kind of a long time ago. Since then, the city has added a number of new programs across the continuum, and we're actually up just above 40. Chicago IB schools are providing tangible benefits to the city's low-income students. Research conducted by the University of Chicago Consortium on Chicago School Research shows Chicago's IBDP students are gaining entrance into selective schools and colleges and universities, and more importantly, are persisting in college at a higher rate than when matched against a group of their peers at non-IB Chicago public schools. Pretty powerful statistics. As a result of the success of that was documented by this important study, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel has decided to expand access to an IB education for Chicago students. And if you see in that slide, he looks much better than I do. In the coming year, Chicago will seek to add 5 new IB-DP programs and also expand 5 of its existing DP programs to be wall-to-wall by making DP courses and the full diploma available to all students, which is really unprecedented in a large general high school in the U.S. It's very exciting stuff for us. IB's extraordinary impact in Chicago offers the prospect of academic success to other communities where far too many students have failed to thrive. Not only have we seen access to an IB education increase through new schools joining our community, but we also managed to increase access by introducing the IB's 4th program. And I talked a little bit about that last year. The IB's 4th program, the IBCC, or Career-Related Certificate, provides an IB option for high school students who want to challenge themselves academically and experience the benefits of an IB education while focusing on a career-related field. IBCC students graduate well prepared for college-level coursework or for immediate entry into the field of their choice. Since 2006, when the IBCC was first piloted, and now with the official rollout, I'm both confident and pleased that the program's ability to attract students who may not have thought of themselves as traditional IB students in the past. IBCC graduates finish high school both career and college ready, a great place to be, especially in today's challenging and competitive economy. One more way, and I wish I could tell you I'm almost done, but I'm not, but I get to stand up here. One more way that the IB is extending access is in the area of access to college for IB students. We're thrilled that there are 35 representatives of universities here with us today. Many institutions of higher learning already appreciate the value that IB students bring to their campuses. Colleges and universities tell us that IB graduates are more mature. Do I look more mature? Yeah. More worldly? Maybe, maybe not. And better able to adapt to the demands of university life. They also tell us that IB students have the organizational skills, the intellectual capacity to tackle college-level work and to persist where other students falter. I want to extend a special welcome to the university representatives joining us today and assure you that we are eager to work with you on ways that we can improve recognition of the IB diploma and the rigor IB coursework demands. As we work with universities to broaden and improve recognition policies, the IB will also continue to support students as they navigate the university admissions process. Through the work that we do in coordination with Association of IB World Schools and others, the IB community will continue to assist students in selecting the colleges that are best for them. In April of this year, the U.S. Mid-Atlantic IB Association organized the region's first IB student-only college fair at American University in Washington, D.C. Can you guess how many students are in that picture? It's a sea of students. 1,500 students, 1,500 IB diploma students attended this fair to connect with over 125 universities that thought to themselves, we want IB kids on our campuses. They attended from 7 countries, the universities did, including representatives from Oxford, St. Andrews, UBC, Waterloo, and Melbourne. The IB organization was also a premier sponsor of the New York Times College Life Fair, recently held in Chicago. At the fair in Chicago, more than 6,000 students, parents, teachers, and university representatives attended the event, and as you saw from the picture from a few slides ago, even the mayor stopped by our booth to say hello. Despite these exciting developments, the current world economic climate poses some significant challenges for schools and the IB organization. While we continue to pursue new opportunities to advance access, we must also remain vigilant in sustaining the programs offered by current IB schools. Kind of goes without saying. This reality hit home to me earlier this year when the school board that oversees Sydney Academy in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, recommended that the high school's IB program be phased out by 2014. Among the community members who protested the decision was an IB alum of the school named J.C. Saunders. I'd like to read to you some of the remarks he posted on his blog, and you can Google him and see his blog yourself. It's kind of cool. I think they really capture the strengths of the IB and its impact on those who complete the diploma program. In his blog, J.C. says, "I found the IB diploma to be incredibly tough and competitive. When I entered Acadia University, I quickly saw how such a challenge as the IB program was paying off. Due to the number of essays that the IB program required me to write, I'd really honed in on my writing skills. In short, and I didn't write this, the IB program really prepared me for going to university." I mentioned JC's story not to prove that IB prepares students well for college. As an IB graduate, I know that it does. As IB educators, I think you guys know. But it's more than that. It's also about developing all of the characteristics that allow one to succeed in life. Persistence, I'm pretty persistent. Adaptability, a global perspective, cultural literacy, a commitment to service, or just to name a few. If you visit JC's blog, you'll quickly learn that he has all of these qualities and more. His blog is devoted to autism awareness, a condition he knows about firsthand, but one that he clearly hasn't stopped in his pursuit of higher learning. Today, JC is a master's candidate in math at the University of Waterloo, as well as an advocate for the educational program that got him where he is today. Thanks to his efforts, and those of the students, teachers, and many others in the community, the school board voted in June to not only retain the IB program, but to work towards growing it. So it's pretty exciting. The environment that helped shape JC and other students in Cape Breton, the same environment that exists at inner city schools in Chicago and that will soon permeate the grounds of schools in rural Ecuador and the candidate school in Michoacan, Mexico, are all powerful examples of the culture of learning that serves as the theme of this year's conference. We don't just cultivate this culture once a year. You, as IB educators, create a culture of learning in IB schools and classrooms every day. IB educators often have an impact on the IB's culture of learning beyond their immediate communities. The IB is very fortunate to have a dedicated group of practitioners who serve as members of the IB Educator Network. As the IB grows, the Educator Network also needs to grow. And in an effort to engage more IB educators to support the work that we're doing, we're looking at new ways of training educators as workshop leaders, visitors, consultants, examiners, and more. As an example of that, in October, for the first time, we'll pilot a hybrid or blended model of a training academy in Detroit, Michigan, where we'll train new people to work on our behalf. A portion of this academy will be completed online, and the rest will take place in person. Hybrid academies will help reduce costs while allowing us to bring more teachers into the Educator Network so that we can better support the growing number of IB schools in the region. Without the support of IB educators, we couldn't do much of the work that we do. This year alone, members of the IB Network will enable us to train close to 30,000 teachers face-to-face here in the Americas alone. They'll also work with nearly 1,000 schools that are currently navigating the authorization or evaluation processes in 2012 in the Americas. These are impressive numbers. I would like to ask all members of the IBEN network, many of you are out there, to please stand up. Well, I wish you were still standing, but it's okay. I just want to thank you for the crucial role that you play in supporting the IB community and of the collaborative and collective culture of learning that you inspire in your schools and the schools that you visit and the educators that you have contact with as workshop leaders and the many other roles I mentioned. And I'll put in a plug. Linda, are you out there somewhere? Okay, excellent, excellent. If you're interested in joining the network, please visit the IBEN booth in the exhibit hall or introduce yourself to Linda Winch or a member of the IBEN team. Linda's waving in the back there. We would love to have you join our ranks and participate in our hybrid academy coming up. Okay, back to the conference, and I promise you I am almost done this time. This year we've highlighted in your program 9 thematic strands, and you see the strands of pearls. Hopefully you enjoyed my theme there. You may wish to focus your attention on a particular topic. The key to the strands can be found on page 9 of your program, and I would encourage you to review all of them as you plan your individual schedule. However, I'd like to draw your attention to a few of these strands. First, there's the Common Core strand, which will support IB educators in the US. We'll have 7 breakout sessions dedicated to this topic, which I know many of you are eager to learn about and how it'll impact your IB programs. If you're curious about some of the research that I mentioned earlier in regards to Title I schools, then the research strand may interest you. Research as you know, plays an important role in the deployment, quality assurance, and assessment of IB programs and services. One of the sessions in the strand offers a roundup of impact studies like the one I mentioned in Chicago that use data to demonstrate the value of an IB education. Isn't it good to know that there's a growing body of evidence that supports the value of what we do? This research is critical to ensuring that our programs continue to thrive. Other strands will focus on specific programs, including the PYP, the MYP, the DP, the Continuum, and now, of course, our 4th program, the IBCC. There are also strands that cover higher education, school leadership, and where educators and administrators can collaborate and learn about what their colleagues are doing elsewhere. I'm almost done. If you attended last year's conference, you know that IB Americas has embraced social media. Last year during the conference, and just at a show of hands, how many of you were at last year's conference? And how many of you, this is your first IB conference ever? Wow. Look around. That's pretty exciting that close to half the audience is your first conference. So I won't refer to last year anymore. But anyway, I will. We saw hits to our blog last year during the 4 days of the conference. They rose 700%. And the traffic there wasn't just 2 before, so 700 would have been easy to achieve. This year, we're going to be doing lots of social media as well. Our hashtag for the conference, and I know many of you have already tweeted, and I've tweeted a couple of tweets, and you can even follow me if you're interested. But our hashtag is IB Mexico 2012, and you can follow me at Drew Deutsch, or the IB at IB organization. Okay? And there's more. There is more. You can also download the conference app at the iOS or the Apple App Store. Just search for IB Conference of the Americas. You can also use the QR code if you're quick on the trigger finger by pointing it at the screen right now. Quick. We'll leave it up there. Anyone want to point? I don't know if it'll work from this distance. Or you can just copy down that quick URL and download it right there. Through the app, you can see a running log of tweets to get a sense of what's trending over the next several days. And then also I want to point out that we are videoing many of the plenaries as well as breakout sessions, and those will be available on our website a few days after the conference. Okay? I hope you're as excited as I am about the next 4 days. I urge you to take advantage of the opportunity to exchange ideas, to collaborate with fellow educators, to ask universities for better recognition policies. I just added that. And to learn about the innovations taking place at other IB schools across the region. And as a tradition, I would now like to introduce our first student speaker. Please join me in welcoming Lia Faith Reed, who is here to introduce this evening's keynote speaker. Lia graduated from Curie Metropolitan High School in, anyone guess? Chicago, Illinois in the United States with an IB diploma in 2007, like a year or two after I did. As a senior in high school, Lia was class valedictorian and received a full scholarship to attend Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, where she double majored in political science and psychology and was clearly an underachiever. Today, she's back in middle school, working for the Teach for America program in the Anacostia neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Lia cites her IB teachers and IB coordinator at Curie High School for inspiring her desire to work with underprivileged students in Anacostia. Please join me in welcoming Lia Faith Reed.